What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Now, recently I've expressed some displeasure in the soft-ass, pussy-ass, powder puff matchmaking, the cherry picking that we've been seeing in boxing. And it looks like they're making a fight that goes against that. It goes against the grain, and it does what a lot of other fights aren't doing, at least this year. And that's making a good, solid, competitive match that the fans could be happy with. So it looks like Marco Antonio Rubio versus Triple G is going to happen hopefully in October. Now, it's not 100% set in stone, but Marco Antonio Rubio did tweet this. He said, "Since Miguel Cotto didn't want to fight me, we're fighting Triple G October 18th. I never back down from anyone. The battle is coming." And I love this. I love this tweet. I love this attitude. And I love this fight. I think it's a good fight. I'm going to break it down, tell you the pros and cons and what I see from the fight. Not going to give a prediction, but let's just talk about the fight. Now, Triple G has been criticized for not fighting the best of the best. I don't fault Triple G fully because although he brought some guys up in weight and there were some showcase fights in there, he's calling people out. He's saying he wants to fight people in his division, and I don't really see anyone hopping to it. So by default, I made a video earlier today and it said Triple G is currently the best middleweight out, and I feel that way. I feel he's very tough to beat at 160. And again, by default, since he's calling people out, he's open to fight the Cottos. He said that his last fight, and I ain't heard a peep from Cotto. I ain't heard shit. And same thing with Marco Antonio Rubio. He was a mandatory for Sergio Martinez. Sergio Martinez got destroyed by Cotto, making Cotto the new lineal champion and putting him in the position to defend the belts. And Marco Antonio Rubio was pushing for a Sergio Martinez fight, and as a result, Sergio Martinez lost. Cotto now steps into Sergio Martinez's place and becomes the person who is mandatory is Marco Antonio Rubio. And it doesn't look like he wants that fight either. So frankly, I think Cotto needs to drop back down. I don't think he has really any business at 160. You did what you did. You set history. You beat the shit out of Sergio Martinez for the world to see. In front of your second home in New York. Go back down. Make that Canelo fight. Great fight. More winnable fight. But I don't see him just beating a lot of in-prime fighters at 160 or doing it as easily as he did to Sergio Martinez. I think he kind of caught Sergio Martinez at that point, that vulnerable window where it was a big gamble. Now, as far as Triple G versus Marco Antonio Rubio, again, I love this fight. If you don't know boxing, you might not care for this fight. You might not really like it if you're just a surface area fan. Me knowing boxing, I like this fight because Marco Antonio Rubio has a respectable resume. And when I talk about resume, I'm talking win or lose. If you've been in there with credible opponents, then I have to give you credit because at the very least, you can learn even from your losses. Now, he fought Carlos Baldomir, who he wasn't necessarily in his prime, but it's still a good name to have. He's still going to give you some work. Chavez Jr., and he lost a decision to Chavez Jr. We know Chavez Jr. has some power, has a chin, and he went the distance. A lot of people, I think, thought he should have won the fight, or it was kind of iffy. I got to go back and watch it. I remember watching it live. He's been in there with Kelly Pavlik, lost to Kelly Pavlik. He fought even guys like Saul Roman when Roman was more of a upcoming prospect that people were kind of checking for. He lost to him, got stopped by him, but then he later on, I believe he beat Saul Roman via KO. And then you see other guys later on like Curtis Stevens come knock Saul Roman out as well. So just from that, he has a good resume. And he's on a win streak. He won his last two fights by KO, and he won about like 5 or 6 fights in a row. And his last loss was a questionable one against Chavez Jr. So this dude's tough. Again, if you don't know boxing, you don't really know what he brings to the table. He's like 5'10", 5'11". He's game. He's Mexican. So I can't stereotype, but he is cut from the cloth of the Mexican fighters that they don't back down. He tells you that in his tweet. He has heart. And that's what a lot of Mexican fighters are known for, having tremendous heart, having chin, that warrior mentality, which is great because I want to see that against a guy like Triple G. He's a little bit old for boxing. He's 34, which is boxing old, but he has a high KO percentage. So he's definitely a credible opponent. And if Triple G dismantles him like it ain't shit, and he does it easily, I give Triple G even more props for taking on a guy like Marco Antonio Rubio, who has the potential to not make it the best night for you and the potential to even win this fight with Triple G. So it's going to be interesting. Like I said, I think Curtis Stevens versus Triple G, Curtis Stevens was able to exploit some things in Triple G, but he didn't stick to it. So going in against a Marco Antonio Rubio, someone again that has that Mexican heart that's going to keep him, like, as long as he is capable of fighting, he's not like knocked out or whatever, he's going to keep trying. He's tough and he's game and he has pride. He's very prideful. So it's going to be an interesting fight, and I really like this fight. That's all I could ask of Triple G. Keep fighting the Daniel Gills and the top guys in your division, the Marco Antonio Rubios, and if he walks through all them dudes, then I mean, you can't really say shit else. He kind of has the Canelo type of resume, where Triple G, he was fighting some smaller guys who were coming up in weight, but even as he moved up in competition, he was still holding his own. And even more so, I would say, than Canelo, because Canelo has had some trouble with Trout a little bit. He had a little bit of trouble with Edeslani Laura as well, versus Triple G. As his competition is stepping up at 160, he's still destroying these dudes. He still destroyed Macklin. He destroyed Curtis Stevens. He destroyed Daniel Gill. So, again, if he keeps this trend up and defeats Marco Antonio Rubio, a guy who has a lot of veteran experience, learned on the job, came up fighting in Mexico. He's 34. He can crack. He has a KO percentage almost 80%. You know what I mean? He's a true middleweight. It's not like a guy who's coming up from 54 or anything. No bullshit like that. This is a good fight. And it sucks for the veterans like Miguel Cotto, who you had the opportunity to fight this guy too. He wanted to fight you, and now you're letting Triple G do it. So I give all the credit in the world to the Triple Gs and the Canelos and whoever else is making the best possible fights, not this bullshit cherry pick fights and all that. So let me know what you guys think. Marco Antonio Rubio versus Triple G. Very good fight. And I give full props to the winner of this fight, barring any kind of controversy or bullshit. If they win in the right way, I give them a ton of credit because they really deserve it. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like the video. As always, hate, comment, or subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing off.